Welcome back to 7 Seconds or More. This is episode 10. We are back remote. Here we are. I'm your host, Peter Howarth, here as always with Duncan Adele.
Hello.
And OG friend of the show, number one Mikal Bridges fan, Daniel Park.
How's it going?
Yeah, I believe either Garrett's still on vacation or he's still busy. Hopefully we can have him back next week. Very busy time. People still recovering from end of the semester, getting ready for summer stuff, but we're excited to get back. Just a couple of things before we get started. Last episode is in video form on YouTube, so you can check it out there. We hope to do that moving forward, still sort of figuring out the kinks of how to video edit and how YouTube works a little bit. So you can check that out at the link in the description as always. As well, you can still send in your questions to the mailbag. We're still sort of putting that together, so you can send that to the link in the description or to at 7 seconds or more on Instagram or 7 seconds or more at gmail.com.
How many mail-ins do we have so far? Do you know?
A couple. We'll keep it vague. It's also a way of yeah, we don't need to get into it. Yeah, so we're gonna do some conference finals talk, obviously, because there's a lot going on. But I had a couple things before we got started. Jason Tatum this morning was talking about making All NBA because those teams were announced last night, and the first team was Luka Doncic, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Nikola Jokic. And Tatum was saying that he believes all NBA should be positionless and that there should be a baseline of the number of games someone has to play to qualify, as in, like, I don't know, like a 60 game threshold to be eligible. I was just wondering what you guys thought about that.
Who would that disqualify from the current teams?
I think Kevin would be close. Embiid
maybe?
could be close. A lot, I think it's kind of factored in. I don't like it. This is something that Ryan Bernardoni at Danger Cart on Twitter, he said that he likes them looking like real teams. So, you would never play Jokic and Embiid together, really.
Right.
And as well as if you ignore, or if you have that baseline, then you sort of ignore the number of games to an extent. So, like he said, for example, playing 78 games instead of 65 is a big difference, but that will be ignored if they're both like above the threshold. And I think that's a good point because being available for 78 games means you're available the whole year. 65 means you're in and out, but that would be ignored in this case.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, like Joel second in MVP voting and is on second team. That is weird. Whereas if there are two guards, then they'd both be first team. So is this just a way to be like, how can the guy who is second in MVP voting not be on first team NBA, all first team?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like Wilt and Russell couldn't both make first team, but I think that just happens with the talent in the league at the time. I don't really know what the solution is because at the same time, like Embiid was a first team player, but I like them being team based. Dan, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think I agree with Duncan, and you definitely want to have the best players positionless, like on that one team, but also like having like one center, it just makes it more competitive, I think, and I guess it mimics like an actual team. So yeah, it's kind of strange. I don't know how you would find a solution for that because I could see both sides of why you would want to have a positionless all NBA team versus having like a traditional two guard, two forward, one center.
Tatum also has like a lot of stake in it because him not making All NBA last year makes his overall contract be worth less because there's an incentive in a lot of max extensions that if you make an All NBA team or you win an award, then I believe it's around like 30% your contract goes up in total value.
Oh, wow.
And because he made it, this is the first year of his extension, it still didn't matter. So there's also Bobby Marks of ESPN was saying it should be either in the last year of the rookie contract or the first year of the extension. or maybe media should have less of a say in it. There's a lot of things in it that, like, why is the media dictating how much a guy will get paid?
Yeah,
So
that's what I was about to say. Like, it shouldn't be a. It's obviously the 5 players on first team aren't the best 5 players in the league
Mm.
because Joel Embiid's on second team. So, kind of having the incentive be with a system that doesn't necessarily reward the best players. Maybe being second team center is worth more than being the second guard on the first team, for example. So it's kind of like Joel, we still know he's good, and maybe he didn't get it, whatever. But it's just it's a weird award at the end of the year. And also, like, did I just not watch the same NBA as everyone? Like, was everyone expecting Pascal to be on third team, like Siakam?
well, once if you're doing completely stricter to position, then uh, there's going to be more forward spots available because those centers are going to be Jokic, Embiid, and Towns. So if you're
Hmm.
looking at like 6 forwards, you Tatum, Giannis, Kevin, like Jimmy Butler, DeRozan,
Mm.
LeBron, Siakam. Like Siakam had a good year, and I think people respected what Toronto was doing
Hmm.
um, in the East. Although they
Can you
play in a lot
guys?
of
Can either of you like give me a forward you would have put over Siakam?
it's hard to say after it happens,
Yeah.
right? Because you're like, I don't know, that was the team. They did it.
Hmm.
They got it right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Middleton didn't like play enough games, and he was kind of underwhelming. Like I don't think Draymond deserved it
No.
necessarily.
Yeah.
It's tough to say. Good for Pascal because for the
Hmm.
last couple of years, the narrative has been like the only thing he can do is a spin move, and he's very one dimensional. And Kawhi carried him to the ship,
Spawner like
which is all
Siakam.
kind of true. Yeah, spin him like Siakam.
Yeah.
So good for Pascal. So I feel good for him getting that recognition. Another international player too.
True.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, it's really between him. Well, I wouldn't put him in that tier, but him and Luca and Giannis and Embiid. It's really really taking over the league. There's an interesting thing. Mark Stein was NBA writer for the New York Times was saying who will be the next American MVP
Mm.
in the Luca Giannis Embiid world. So I mean, the two he mentioned were Jason Tatum and John Morant.
Ooh.
What about Trey Young in there? That's what I was thinking of. If they get a second piece next to him and he keeps doing what he does as sort of like a James Harden like Luka
Mm.
Doncic like everything player for them, do you think he has a shot in that conversation?
What do you think, Dan?
I I think he does. He he certainly has the mentality to go that far, and I mean his talent is undeniable, and they just need one more piece, like you said. So I do think he has what it takes to compete at that high, uh, or to compete for those high accolades, like Tatum and Ja. And I mean, I would even say that he's better than Ja. So I would
Yeah.
definitely put him in that conversation.
The one thing this year about Trey Young is his differential in the playoffs versus the regular season. He has the largest game score differential between the two. I don't have the stat up in front of me, but it's like minus 22 or minus 15 or something like that in game score. The stat that you mentioned last time, Peter, that is like 10 would be an average score, and 40 would be an outstanding game. Like, that's a huge differential. And I don't want to say he choked in the playoffs because he had a different role and it was more about facilitating his teammates rather than pure scoring. But, he didn't perform fantastically, even though did they get 2 games against the Heat or were they swept? I forget.
They
No,
well they
one.
Got one game.
won. Well, I think they need a second guy. John Collins clearly isn't like a second option. DeAndre Hunter, people thought that he'd grow into that role. I think he's more of a third, fourth piece, maybe like an Andrew Wiggins
Hmm.
on the Warriors type.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're looking at guys to put next to him, I'd probably want to put a guard next to him. So Bradley Beal and Zach LaVine are sort of the two that could be potential with Beal sort of running on the
Yeah.
steam there in Washington, and all the Levine rumors. And I don't understand the whole Lakers thing. Like, he would have to
Yeah.
force his way there, and they would have to move out Westbrook, and like it's very complicated. I don't see it happening. But
Yeah. Also, speaking of the Lakers, have you seen like the thing on Twitter going around, swapping Westbrook and Kyrie, and they're like, make it happen.
What?
Like, who wants that? Do
not
the Lakers
Kevin.
want that? Do the Nets want that?
The Nets do
The
not
Nets
want
don't
that.
want that.
If the Nets are trading out Kyrie, they want someone else who can contribute and they know will be very solid and can work with Kevin and can be reliable in the playoffs. I don't think Russell Westbrook is a lot of that. He'll show up for the regular season and he'll get them 35 to 40 wins, guaranteed. If you get a good Russell Westbrook, that's what you'll get. So I really don't understand anything like that. So we're gonna take a quick break before we start talking about the conference finals. So we'll see you after the break. Coming back from the break, one thing that I really wanted to touch on is why some of these games have kind of sucked. I know it's weird, especially with the conference finals. You expect the highest level of play before really the top dog in the finals, and we've seen it over the past couple of years where, especially with the LeBron era Cavs and the sort of juggernaut Warriors, you would see the Western Conference Finals, Warriors Rockets, and be like, this is the real finals before they would beat the Cavs in like five games against a sort of undermanned LeBron team. So I was just wondering what you guys thought about why these games have sort of sucked. Is it like a lot of injuries? Is it all of these every other night, not a lot of rest for the guys? You guys have any theories about that?
Yeah, I have one little theory because like part of what you just said there, like the first round of these playoffs were electric. So many great matchups. I was like, wow, this is a great first round. Everyone was saying like this is great playoff basketball. And they were fresh then. And then, they played a lot, had multiple injuries. And I feel like when a team starts to get a lead, it takes less of a lead for the game to be over, like the games have been decided in like the second, third quarter, not very much the fourth quarter in these games. And last night we saw in the Mavs Warriors game 4, the Warriors put their bench in, and all of a sudden it was an exciting game again. The guys who were rested, the guys who hadn't been playing, who had a spark and were able to like take a lead back against a team. And the Mavs had Luka in for part of that too, and they were still coming back. So I don't know if
Mhm.
you agree or disagree with that, Dan, but I think it is kind of the resting.
Yeah, I definitely attribute these seemingly frequent blowouts in this year's playoffs to the schedule. I mean, there's so many or not so many, but there are a lot of games that they have to play back to backs, and especially road back to backs. I don't know why that's a thing. Um, and I think the NBA needs to look at um, whether or not it's worth having the players like fall apart um, just to get some good revenue. And now they're talking about adding an in-season tournament, uh, and I think that's in an effort to reduce the regular season games that they're adding this tournament. But
Yeah,
I don't
that'd be
think it really
another
makes
break
any
for
difference.
players. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there. And also, what they could just do is there's probably a day of the week where they get the worst ratings, like I don't know, like Tuesday or Wednesday. Just have the Wednesday be a rest day for all the teams. And I think having that one extra rest day in the week would just kind of fix it,
It like sort of pseudo happens already. I think it was around the trade deadline maybe, or maybe the first game out of the All-Star break. There's one game on, and it was Detroit Orlando. So we might as well call that.
I remember
There might
that.
as well have been no games going on that night.
Yeah.
But with the whole rest thing, yeah. Normally in the past, I've looked at the playoff schedule, and I've said, "Wow, there are like no games being happening. There's like 3 games in 1 week or 2 games. Like why are there 2 or 3 rest days in between?" But now it's like every other night the games are playing, and first of all, as a fan, as someone who likes basketball, it can even be a little much. I'm like that game, that blowout just happened in Boston, and those guys are tired, and we don't know what's up with Rob Williams and Hero. I always mess it up. The two R's. Just drop one of the R's. Jimmy Butler, Smart. Like I don't even know who's out there, and yet in a couple hours they'll be playing tonight. Who knows what'll happen? It'll be in Miami. Who knows? One team will probably go out to a 15, 20 point lead in the first quarter, and the game will be over. Like just put an extra day when you're going from Boston to Miami. Just put in one extra day. When you're going Miami to Boston, obviously the same thing.
Yeah.
There just seems to be a solution here to put a better product, and part of that better product is the marquee guys on each team being out there. So
yeah, one thing I do like with this back to back though, I was listening to Pat McAfee's show. Shout out Pat. He was talking about
Not
how
on the pod.
yeah, every night it's TNT versus ESPN. It's every other night, and TNT's winning. Every time I say it's the ESPN guys, the pre-show, even they have like their commentators like they have Van Gundy, right?
yeah, they each have a Van Gundy. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, but the ESPN's Van Gundy, I
Jeff
forget
Van
his
Gundy.
first name. He's so pessimistic
He
and
always is.
like
That's his whole thing.
condescending
Yeah.
the entire time. Like he's just not fun to watch. He's like gatekeeping basketball as a commentator, and like you're kind of missing the point. And the ESPN, like I don't know what it is, but I find myself when I'm watching their games asking for the replay. I'm like, come on, this just happened. Like we want to see the foul, and they're showing us a replay from like 2 minutes ago, and it's like, no, I want to see this poster dunk. We haven't seen it. Like I don't know. TNT's winning, but kind of going off with that, like it is a lot, like back and forth every night.
That's so.
Something
No, you got it.
something I wanted to also add is that I think the blowouts are like coinciding with just the evolution of the game in general. How it's just more fast paced. You run and kick out to three. It's a battle of the three. Whoever's three falls, they win. And it's just the pace of the game has gotten so fast. I think it's taking a much larger toll on the players.
I agree with that, Dan. To go back to what you were saying earlier, Duncan, I have some sympathy for the replay guys because there'll be a big dunk or a big three, and that there's a producer saying, "Hey, I want to have that. Like, show me that three at another angle, that dunk at another angle." So at the next stoppage, they've been looking at the replay, getting the right angle. They have it queued up, and after they have that queued up, then sure they're looking for that immediate thing. It's hard to do on the fly. I've done it on the fly, a little lesser take, but it is hard. But I do find it more frequent with ESPN. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think it's probably more on the producer, not on the replay guys. It's the producer who's saying what's on the screen and not on the screen. And also, it's interesting that they don't have AI do it. I wonder how that would be. Like if the AI in 2K can give me that animation right away, like why can't they do it in the games?
It feels like a thing you could, like if you.
Like I don't want to automate your job, Peter. I don't want to steal your job, but
No, I think if you did
wonder.
enough, if you put enough like plays in front of an AI and got it to learn what is worthy of a replay, I think it could figure it out. I don't really know if those companies are investing. It's an interesting theory, though. If you just show enough plays and then you say, "Hey, like this three in this situation, or this dunk, or a foul that looks like this is worthy of a replay," if you could figure it out. One thing about the
Yeah,
ESPN
it's
guys,
tough.
though, they always used to be my favorite broadcast team, going back to like 2014, 2015, when I was watching Cavs Warriors when I was in high school. During the end of the school year in June, seeing Kyrie and Curry and LeBron and Clay and Draymond, they were always my favorite. And part of that's Mike Breen because he's such a professional and such a class act.
Yeah. No, he's great.
But
He's
yeah,
great.
Mark Jackson is
Bang.
really the one I would say is gatekeeping. He like does not believe in modern basketball. It's always like, oh well, if this was in the '90s, that wouldn't have even been a whistle. They wouldn't have even thought about it. It's like, bro, no one cares. All right, he got fired as the Warriors coach, and then they turned into a dynasty. they forgot you ever existed. Steve Kerr just took the reins and blew right past you. Like, stop it, bro.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Anyways, on some actual basketball analysis, you're talking about the threes and everything. I think a lot of it is the transition for Miami, the reason why they're in this series, and it's sort of self-inflicted wounds by Boston. Because in the half court, Miami is scoring 90.9 points per 100 plays in the half court. That's according to Cleaning the Glass. This is from an article on The Ringer by Dan Devine. So that would have been a bottom 5 mark during the regular season. So that really just shows if Boston is shooting itself in the foot and turning the ball over every possession, yeah, Jimmy Butler's really strong of a finisher at the rim, and he's really good in transition. And then you've seen Strus and Hero be able to hit spot up threes in transition. PJ Tucker has been pretty reliable in the corner, although it really fluctuates game to game. But if they have the ability to get out and have numbers on the fast break, they're more than likely going to get a good look, and that really helps if they can't score against that set defense in the half court.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially watching the last couple games. It's surprising that in Game 4, the Celtics only wound up winning by how much after they had taken that commanding lead in the first quarter. Like, so even with the blowouts and the big leads, like, I don't know. I think these last couple of games, the Heat are going to turn it on a bit. They seem to be okay losing Game 4 because they didn't have Hero, they're injured. I don't know. They didn't seem too upset about it, and they're just going to move on. And now it's a fresh start, and they've got 2 home games left. So I'm excited to watch the rest of those games for sure.
Well, Peter, as a Celtics fan, did you enjoy that blowout, or do you look at more like the bigger picture of like how this is bad basketball, like as a whole?
It's kind of conflicting when you watch these games. Like, there's no lead that I see that I'm not like worried about. Like, we're up 30, and yeah, Malik Fitz is out there for the Celtics. Shout out Malik. But I'm just like, ugh, man, I don't know. Like, I'm watching that game until the buzzer sounds. I don't trust anything, and that's not saying that I don't believe in the Celtics team and just how kind of wild these games have been. I don't. It's been like weird basketball, and you hate to see that sort of 9 minutes of garbage time at the end of the game when you have Luke Cornett out there. Shout out Luke Cornett, come on the pod. But something I thought was interesting is Mark Jackson. He was saying, you don't want to have Duncan Robinson be able to start seeing the ball go in the net and gain some confidence out there. But then again, I saw someone on Twitter saying, hey, just because Duncan Robinson hit a couple threes, I don't think Eric Spoelstra is being like, all right, now I'll play him. Like, I don't think it's affecting it. I think we overlook these, or we look too far into these things, and these coaches are like, they're a different animal.
Yeah. Also, Peyton Pritchard, he could make a leap next year.
He's a genuinely good player.
Yeah, he's made a leap just in these playoffs versus regular season to playoffs. And I think, the rest of the team being good makes it easier for like each role player to be good. But if he continues like that, do you guys see Peyton Pritchard being more than a role player?
He could be more of a sixth man type. What was rough? So Pritchard had a good year last year, and then he was really bad in the start of this year because with Schroeder and Josh Richardson here, the Pritchard really got inconsistent minutes, and he didn't have a place to carve out a role and know what he was capable of doing night in, night out. And ever since those guys were shipped out of town, he landed as the third guard, as a sort of a two guard, smaller two guard spot up shooter off the bench, someone who can play make, and he's really found himself in that role. This is a really weird comparison because they don't play similarly at all. But what do you think of him being like what Jalen Brunson used to be in his younger days, a sort of spark plug, smaller guard, smart guy, a long tenured college player who knows how to win off the bench, Dan?
Yeah, I could see it. I honestly like I haven't watched much of Pritchard, but
It's a shame.
what I really loved was I forget what game it was in the series, but he was like trash talking. I know he said that Hero was too small, and then there's this
Game
one
2, I
where
think.
he hit a three, hit a three, and he was just talking that trash. And I think that's great to see in a young player, like that confidence. He has the whole Boston crowd behind him. He has his teammates all behind him. Um, that type of confidence, it's going to get you a long way as long as you can, live up to that. But it's great to see.
Jimmy Butler was trash talking him too in game 1 when he was bullying Pritchard. He would, he'd chirp back at him. Uh,
They kept on switching him onto him.
and interesting, they were trying to do some of that last game, game 4, and I saw this play happen during the game. And I was like, oh, this is a very smart strategy. So what they have is when the Heat come down the court in the high pick and roll and they use that switch to get Pritchard on the Butler, they basically have
Mhm.
Grant sort of leave his assignment and ghost over to him, and then Pritchard just
Mhm.
runs to the next guy, and they rotate back to get everyone covered. It's a thing Brad Stevens used to do all the time on mismatches. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think Brad Stevens is going down to Ime's office being like, "Hey, I think I got a couple ideas." Like I don't think
Mhm.
it's like that. But it was like directly what they used to do. So they would just sort of jump the switch before like Miami could capitalize on there being a guy wide open.
Yeah. I mean, that's winning basketball. You get a new head coach in there. Why change the entire scheme? Like, if you're changing everything, that's a lot more that all the players have to learn. If there's some defensive things like that work, yeah, keep them because they already know them. You don't have to teach to them.
It just seems like it was like 10 years ago that Brad Stevens was the coach of the Celtics. It was just like
Yeah,
eons ago, lifetimes.
like Ime, he's doing a good job.
One thing I wanted to touch on is yesterday we had a poll on the 7 Seconds or More Instagram on who is going to win last night's closeout for the Warriors game 4. And now I understand both of you voted for the Warriors. I voted for the Mavericks.
I saw that.
I don't know why I voted for the
Bold.
Warriors. I was the one who's saying like you can't bet against Luca, but then they dropped 3 games straight. But hey, the Mavs are 3-0 in elimination games this playoffs now. If
Can
there's
they go
ever a
6 and
time,
0?
and they could,
Ooh.
they could be the first team. Luca's got the highest, or maybe not the highest points per game in
No, it
elimination
still
anymore. He
is.
put up like
Stat News
still is,
tweeted out. It's like 36.
yeah. So
It's nuts.
who knows? Winning another 3 games in a row is tough, but I don't know. Never say never.
I also don't know if the Mavs are going to be shooting from three like that again. I mean, Bullock went 0 for 7 in that game 3, and
Hmm.
then him, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Kleber were going crazy last night.
They're so volatile. If you talk about live and die by the three, it's Dallas.
Yeah.
So that sort of gets us going into what I want to talk about next is some of these storylines either that we've liked throughout the playoffs or that would carry through, depending on who wins this round. Something I would think for Dallas is if they made it to the finals with this team, a lot again, like I said in a previous episode, it'd be a lot like the '07 Cavaliers with LeBron making it. It would also be his fifth, his fourth or fifth year, like right after the rookie contract, and bring a really underwhelming cast to the finals. And for me, it's like it shows how amazing Luka is and how transcendent he is, and how did he not go number one? But how far that team could really go if they had like a real second piece next to him. Like imagine if they're different players, I know, but if you swapped out like Spencer Dinwiddie for like Zach Levine as a real,
Or even if it's not a guy like that, if they just have a center, I feel like that completely changes it.
you're not a Dwight Powell fan.
Can't say I am. I mean, Kevon Looney was eating on him. Not to disrespect Kevon Looney
I'm a
because
I'm a
he's
Looney
great, but
fan. I have been. I remember watching the Warriors Raptors finals, and Looney was getting big minutes. I was like, this guy fights hard. I'd want that guy on my
no, he
team.
does. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, a team without a traditional big like the Mavs, he was just feasting, and it was good. It's good to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Mavs definitely are like a piece or two away. But Jason Kidd in a interview after Game 3, honestly, he sounded like he'd already lost, but he was talking as if, like, this is great, great experience for these guys. This will help us 2 or 3 years down in the future. It's a great indicator of our future success. Because this is what we're able to do with this team. Imagine, like, I'm
Mm.
paraphrasing here, but like imagine what they'd be able to do with like the more pieces like we've been talking about. Like the fact that Luka made it that far with that team. Also, kind of funny that like Trey also did that last year. It really is the most balanced trade in NBA history. But excited to see how they could continue the success in Dallas.
That might be like a former player thing because Jason Kidd's a former player. He's seen how these things go. He's not like trying to put rose-colored glasses on. He's just saying how it is, which is really refreshing. You see it with Ime Udoka, who was not the player that Jason Kidd was, obviously, but Udoka will also put it to him straight. It'll. I think he was saying that. Yeah, if we just like don't turn the ball over, we should win because that's our
Yeah,
problem. If we just don't turn the ball over, we should win every game. I was just like, yes. I mean, yeah. Why not? I
yeah.
agree. And if you believe in it, you should say it. And I thought that was really refreshing to hear.
There's so much value to having a journeyman coach like Ime. Like he played professionally overseas for a couple of years when he wasn't able to make it onto a roster, and then he came back after working hard like that and got his NBA roster spots. I think he like was like on 5 different teams or 4 different teams in 5 years or something like that. But he probably had so many hard conversations with people, so many coaches telling him like, you're good, but not good enough. Sorry to break it to you, but here's the hard decision. And having someone who's able to have those like relate to those players, like trade it when he traded away, like Josh Richardson. Even I don't know if I describe him as a journeyman as much, but like there's a lot of value to having a coach who's been in those tough positions and can elevate the smaller role players to success, like he's been doing this year.
It's a good point.
I'm going to put you guys on the spot. Dan, I'm going to put you on the spot first. I'll introduce the question first, obviously. But which team, if they won the championship, would this mean the most to? Either to like the star player, or the city, or the franchise, the coach, whatever it be. So Dallas, Golden State, Boston, or Miami.
Um, I'm between Miami and Boston, but I think I'm gonna lean Boston just because um, they've just been through a lot of up and down in the postseason. A lot of disappointment with their young core. The whole debate about keeping Jaylen Brown and Tatum together, um, stuff like that. I feel like it would be really rewarding for them to go all the way and win this. And as for the Heat, I think, like you've said in the past, Peter, they're a massively disrespected team. People don't really regard them as contenders or as a really good team just because they don't have like a superstar uh, apart from Jimmy or even
Jimmy Butler
Bam.
is
I
a
mean, he
superstar
feels
too.
like
That's also like I think he gets a lot of
yeah,
disrespect just because of his regular season numbers. But go on.
yeah. I feel like they've gotten disrespected as well, uh, and it would be rewarding to Eric Spoelstra, who's been one of the best coaches in past few years since forever. So yeah, I think those two franchises it would probably mean the most.
Duncan, do you have a take on that?
Yeah, so I'm in a similar train of thought with Dan with Boston. And also like you talking about like fan bases and stuff. It Just the other one is the Warriors and Steph and getting that Finals MVP because that's like the only argument people have against him as being one of the best point guards, if not best players of all time. And but at the same time, I don't like the Warriors fans. Not that I dislike the Warriors fans, but like the whole what Chuck always says about the Warriors fans. Like there's some truth to that with a lot of like probably the same argument people had against like Patriots fans during the Tom Brady era, and I can see how that could be annoying. But I think Steph Curry deserves that because, well, maybe deserves not the right word, but the man is the best shooter of all time. And if he needs another Finals MVP for people in the future to say, yeah, he was the best shooter of all time, maybe I'm down for that. Same time, Boston's a great story. I don't know. It's tough because all these teams could do it. I think the Mavs, getting that 3-0 start against the Warriors, them coming back, if they were able to come back from that, then I think that would be the story of the NBA. And
Mhm.
I'd root for them to beat Miami because that'd be insane. The first post Dirk era ring for the Mavs, Luka's first ring. So I know it's not an answer to your question, Peter, but honestly, like any of those three teams, even Miami too, like I think I'd root for the Celtics because being from like the New England area, those are the fans that I've had the most interactions with. And I could see how much it would mean to them. And they've come from like having a 500 record this season to dominating in 2022, and it would be a great story as well to see them win their ring.
What about you,
I
Peter?
have a couple of things based off what Duncan was saying. I actually have not a lot of sympathy for Celtics fans as a Celtic fan, even though like the last, pretty much like 5 years, it's been infuriating. Like knocking at the door, having all these assets and having a lot of them sort of go for nothing, or sitting on them as they've lost value, and seeing some guys succeed elsewhere. And then all the Tatum and Brown talk, which has been a lot of baloney. Honestly, like I just don't get why their storyline, like they're like 23 and 24, like let's calm down. And the city of Boston has had a lot of success in the past 20 years, so I don't think anyone's in Boston is sitting there like, give me one, come on, we deserve it. um, the one I would actually lean towards being the most monumental would be Golden State, because it would put them give them a fourth ring, separating them from some other sort of dynasties. It'd bring them one closer to Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant. Each had 5 rings, which is funny enough because I'm saying them, like the individuals, because they lasted so long that they sort of had multiple dynasties. Duncan had the one in the late 90s with him and David Robinson. And then they had the ring in '07. Tony Parker was Finals MVP, him and Ginobili. And then they finished it off in the early 2010s when they had a Kawhi and Danny Green, Boris Diaw, Tiago Splitter. Shout out Tiago Splitter. They had a bunch of guys. But just with Golden State, yeah, it's funny that we're being like, but Curry doesn't have a Finals MVP. Like he still has 2 regular season MVPs, and he has 3 rings. Like we're being really
That's
nitpicky
true.
when John Stockton never won a ring, Chris Paul has never won a ring. Um, it's just we're really nitpicking. I think if Steph gets this ring, Kendrick Perkins said that he would probably have him be the best point guard of all time if he beats or if he won a ring.
Ooh.
I think it's certainly a question, and it really cements Steph in that top 10 all time discussion, because really around the fringes of the top 10 is it's funny, like some of these names you're like, how are they not top 10? But there's a lot of good players, right? Shaq, Kobe, Hakeem,
Mm,
now Steph. Kevin's a little farther out, but Kevin's in
yep.
there. Um, yeah, I mean it's just a really loaded. We might do a top 10 thing later in the season, because I could do this for like 20 minutes, for really like an hour. But yeah, I think for the Warriors it'd be really monumental. I'm a guy who sort of looks at it at a more of a historical scope, a larger scale, and seeing how will we
Mm-hmm.
remember this team, this player, long term. And maybe
Yeah,
that's a little biased because it's so early for Tatum and Luka. They have a lot of career left. If we were saying this in 10 years, then I think this is a different discussion. But at the moment, I think it'd be really cool for Warriors fans after sort of how the team kind of fell apart after 2019 and how they've managed to get themselves back to the top.
that's
Mm.
true. They're well, that's the other like thing for the Warriors that I don't like. They're not underdogs. They've been so above the luxury tax for how many years now? Like you can't count them as underdog. Like they, uh, so it is cool that they they do kind of have the underdog story with Clay coming back and being injured and everything like that, but they're most certainly not underdogs. Also, would this make Steve Kerr like how far up and greatest coaches of all time? Because this would be his ninth ring. He has 5 rings as a player, and then he has 3 rings as a coach, right?
Yep.
So this would be his 9th ring, which is insane. How are there any other players that have nearly that much?
Well, Russell has like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
Combined rings is a really interesting one. Obviously, Phil Jackson has what is it, like 10, 11? Phil?
I'll look it up.
He has a lot. He's around there. But I don't really rank all-time coaches, not something I do. But there was the for the NBA 75, they released the like best coaches of all time. I believe Steve Kerr was on that. Doc Rivers was on that.
Phil has
Eric
13.
Spoelstra was on it. Phil has 13.
Yeah,
Did he
he
win one
has
with the Knicks when he was a player?
he has 2 with the
2.
Knicks and the 11 from the Bulls and
6
Lakers.
from the Bulls.
Wow.
So all of Michael Jordan's, and then 5 of the Lakers, all of Kobe Bryant's.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, do you think Eric Spoelstra deserves to be on that list for one of the greatest coaches of all time? I think he does. He was also like a front runner to be one of the next head coach of Team USA basketball, which I thought was really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how his teams especially come out in the second half, he just lights something in them in the locker room after the first half, and the adjustments that he makes in those second halves, I think, is probably his greatest strength. So, yeah, I think he's undoubtedly one of the best coaches that we've seen, especially in this generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know there are times where I'm watching him on the opposing sideline, and he's not a guy I want to be coaching against or just to see out there, because he's very smart. He's seen it all. He's coached a lot of great players. He knows how to win every sort of game with every sort of player, seemingly. But mad respect and props for Eric Spoelstra. Come on the pod.
Welcome anytime.
Yeah, believe me, a lot of people are welcome anytime. Just come knock on the door. It's open. So unless you guys have anything, I think we're going to wrap this up for now, and we'll come back with a little fun draft segment. So coming back from the break, we are doing this fun little draft segment. Before I explain it more, I just want to say I'm not stealing the draft idea. A lot of people do it. I know JJ Redick does it. Shout out to JJ, as always.
Come on the pod.
Please come on the pod, JJ. But a lot of people do the draft segment. You see it on YouTube. You see it on other podcasts. You see it on like TV segments. It's not an original concept, so I'm not attempting to steal from anyone. So if anyone else does it, go enjoy their content as well as ours. So what we're doing is we're making 8-man playoff rotations, eight men, because that's sort of the amount of people you would play in a playoff game. And so we're just going to take turns drafting players and see which team is the best. Now you can vote on this in any way. You can be like, these are the players I like the most. This is the team that I think would win in games. This team has Malik Fitz, whatever suits your fancy. Now we did randomize the order 3 times. So I believe, Dan, you are going to lead us off. Also, this is a snake draft. So if the order is Dan,
Alrighty.
me, Duncan, and then it'll reverse and be Duncan, me, Dan. So Dan, who's your first pick?
The first overall pick, I'll be taking Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks.
Okay, I thought Luka would be taken first overall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not surprised.
Oh boy.
Peter's
So
next.
I'm between a couple guys. Obviously, we all know who, between like Tatum, Steph, Jimmy.
Yep.
I want length. I want two-way versatility. I have to take Jason Tatum. Let's not beat around the bush here.
Oh, that
There
was
you go.
Jimmy.
No, I want someone who I know
I
will
wanted
play.
to take I wanted to do what Dan did take Luka and give him an actual team because that's what we've been talking about for so much. But
Yep.
with the snake, it kind of works to my advantage here. So I'm gonna do what I have to do and take Curry and then Jimmy Butler.
That's dirty, man.
Ooh.
That is dirty. Oh boy.
Wow.
You know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Jaylen Brown. Or I'm just putting the Celtics together. Dan,
I'm sure that they work well
this is probably the
together.
first interesting pick.
I'm gonna have to take Stephen Curry.
Duncan already took Steph.
That's my bad.
I have the teams on the document. I'm typing them in as they happen.
Okay.
If you want to see it that way.
I will take. Ooh, this is actually really difficult.
I know who
Yeah.
I would take if I were you, but I'm not you.
I'm gonna take Bam Adebayo.
That's a good one.
Oh wait, do I?
You have
I go
another
again,
pick,
right?
yeah.
I'm going with Andrew Wiggins.
Big
Ooh,
wig.
that's a
Big
good
wigs.
I want this guy in the Celtics because I think he's a better version of what they have. Might be an over pick, but I thought Dan was going to scoop him up. Draymond Green.
Ooh.
That's a good pick.
Yeah, you see, I was thinking of taking Draymond, but I think I might have a little stacked team. But with my next two picks, I'm going to take. I'm between Rob and Al,
You can take
but
both.
taking the healthy version, I'll take Rob, and then I will take. I can't believe he's still up here. The second Splash Brother, Klay Thompson.
No.
It was some disrespect
No.
towards Clay. So you got
Yeah.
the Splash Brothers, and then you got Jimmy and Rob. So you guys both have centers and Bam and Rob. I have Draymond, but I don't have a point guard.
Small ball?
Feels a little early to take Marcus Smart. I do not want Kyle Lowry on my team.
Seems personal.
I promise you it's not personal. I just don't like him that much. Oh man. Boy, we're getting to the nuts and bolts.
Yep.
You know what? I want to see these two play together. Give me Marcus Smart and him next to Draymond.
No.
Ooh, you're done.
That is quite the defenders you got.
Yeah, no one's getting past this defense. I just made the Celtics defense, but added Draymond. Like, I feel good about that.
It's nuts. Okay, so I'm looking to get, I think, a shooter, perimeter shooter.
Duncan Robinson's available.
You can pay him $90 million a year to sit on the bench, or not a year.
That'd be a lot a year.
That'd be a lot a year.
I'm gonna take. Ooh. No, I'll take Kyle Lowry. Canada's caboose.
Is that a nickname?
Yeah.
That's like better than Big Booty Lowry. Although I still like Big Booty. Canada's caboose.
Canada's caboose.
Did he have a new one like the South Beach Stallion or something?
Oh shoot. That could be it.
You heard it here first. Him, Brother Bear, some good nicknames coming from this pod.
So yeah, I'll take Kyle Lowry, and then I'll take Jalen Brunson.
I was wondering when he's going to be taking a lot of. So you got 3 guards now, although Luka's a little bigger.
Yep.
I was wondering how far this guy would go. I think I'm going to take him here. Ooh, oh boy, real coin flip here. Got 2 guys I'm looking at as another guy who spaces the floor, a sort of spark plug player.
Don't do it. Don't take the guy I want to take.
So it's between Tyler Hero and Jordan Poole. I want to go Poole because he knows how to play with Draymond.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Hero. He won Sixth Man of the Year for a reason. He might come on.
Good
Currently,
pick,
he's in
good
my
pick.
starting lineup, but that might change. So Hero off the board. Duncan, you're up.
So I know I've got an interesting lineup. I've got two great shooters, and then I have Jimmy and Rob. So to space the floor, I'm gonna
even more.
bump Rob down to power forward and put Al Horford at center.
Ow!
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought Horford would drop, so I didn't have to take a center yet.
No, I was looking at the power forwards, and I was either gonna do that or put PJ Tucker at power forward to add some defense because he can kind of shoot.
So you got the Celtics front court with Jimmy Butler and the Splash Brothers.
That's crazy.
I'm telling you, you guys are giving me all the players.
Dirty.
And then off the bench, I kind of want another ball handler because I feel like Curry's kind of my only dribbler
Max
here.
Strus, good pick.
I was thinking about it.
Fantastic pick.
I'm gonna kind of go defense ball handler. Give me Victor Oladipo.
Yo, Victor Oladipo. The dude can
shoot. He's been pretty good, and he's been decent in his limited minutes.
He was the bright spot of that Heat team in the blowout.
He learned how to shoot for one game. Wow.
I'm not going for shooter. I've got my shooters.
Okay.
You have more than enough spacing.
Okay. I don't know if these two can really play together, but I feel like this is a good value pick right here. Because I want like another switchable, a bigger forward who can play some defense.
Don't take him.
Oh no! My team might die from chemistry issues, but give me Grant Williams.
Ooh,
interesting. So you just have the Celtics and Draymond and Tyler Hero.
Sounds like a good team to me.
All right. I'm looking for some experience. Actually, yeah, I am looking for some experience. But first, before I take that experience, I'm going to take Dorian Finney-Smith from the Mavs.
I was going between him and Grant.
And then on the turn, I'm going to take open shot, fate of the universe on the line. Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth. I'm taking Iguodala just for the experience, locker room presence. He's not going to play a single game.
Well, you have the most finals MVPs of any team at the moment. Which is a sad stat. When you said like before I make my pick, I thought you were about to kick out to an ad break or something. I'm like, damn, we don't have any sponsors. Like, where's HelloFresh? They contact you?
Reddick, sponsor us.
HelloFresh, sponsor us.
JJ.
Sponsor this podcast. Oh my gosh. So I feel like I need another wing. Dan's got a lot of wings. He's got, Wiggins, Finney-Smith, and Iguodala. Duncan's got Jimmy, Clay. Somehow he has Victor Oladipo on his team.
I wanted a defensive guard there.
I still need a wing and like more of a traditional center.
Traditional center just screams one person.
Yeah.
Your guy. The man you fell in love with in Toronto.
So if I don't take him, all right, so would Duncan take him? Let me see. He has Grant. No, I have Grant. He has Rob and Al. I don't think he would take Kevon Looney. But if I didn't take Kevon Looney, who am I looking at? Dwayne Dedman? Certainly not. He sucks. PJ Tucker. Huh. Ah, man. I am so indecisive. You know what?
Fast PP still on the board too.
I want to take this guy before Duncan probably takes him. Jordan Poole.
Good pick.
You knew I was going to take him.
Yeah.
Good pick.
I had to jump the gun.
Yeah, so looking at my lineup, I've got Curry, Clay, then Jimmy, Rob, and Al. And then Oladipo off the bench. The one thing I'm somewhat concerned about is Rob's minutes. He doesn't have a ton of minutes, so I kind of need another forward to put into that rotation. And I'm not going to take Kevon Looney because he's more of a center.
This is true.
I want more of a power forward, a true power forward to come into that. So looking at what's left, I'm kind of eyeing PJ Tucker, and I think that's who I'll take. I'll take PJ Tucker, have him as my defensive locker room forward, supply the team with all the shoes, and then finally, for my last pick, I want a spark plug because I've got Oladipo. He led the league in steals a couple years ago, but he's not a scoring spark plug.
I know it.
I'm looking at PP. I'm not sure if that's who I want to take or not.
Gabe Vincent's right there.
Honestly, that's not a bad pick, him or Max Strus. Max has been starting.
Gary Payton, the second still on the board. Maxi Kleber still on the board. Spencer Dinwiddie still on the board.
I think Spencer Dinwiddie is my pick here.
Spoke into existence.
Shooting. Well, that's what I was looking at. Between him and Peyton Pritchard, and I think Peyton Pritchard is a good player because of the situation he's in, versus Spencer Dinwiddie's a little more experienced and could fit in this team.
I'm just saying, if there's a lineup where you're rocking Dinwiddie, Oladipo, Jimmy, PJ, and Al, I'm not scared at all. You cannot shoot a lick. Well, Dinwiddie can shoot.
Gotta have a splash bro in there.
Okay, give me Looney. Everyone's done. Kevon Looney on the team. Dan, wrap it up.
Final pick. I'm going to take him for the memes. I have a great locker room presence in Iguodala. So I'm going to have to take the Latvian laser.
Wow. That might have ruined the team right there.
We've come full circle. Latvian laser. Luke Kennard, come out on the pod.
You got a big team, Dan. Other than Brunson and Lowry. So I'm just going to... My God, I can't talk. I'm just going to recap the teams right now. So for Dan, we have Luka Doncic, Bam Adebayo, Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Lowry, Jalen Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Andre Iguodala, and Davis Bertans. For myself,
nice.
I have Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Draymond Green, Marcus Smart, Tyler Hero, Grant Williams, Jordan Poole, and Kevon Looney.
Fire.
And for Duncan, we've got Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, Rob Williams, Klay Thompson, Al Horford, Victor Oladipo, PJ Tucker, and Spencer Dinwiddie. So, initial reactions, what do you guys think of your teams?
I'm happy.
If I disregarded my meme picks, I'm still not happy. But, I'm gonna have to make some trades and make some moves in the off season.
Hey, if anyone, you can offer a trade at the moment. It can be like the LeBron, the All-Star drafts, when he just wants to get all of his clutch sports guys.
I'm looking for like a sixth man, like a Spencer Dinwiddie, Jordan Poole, which you guys both have.
This is true.
I mean, I'll give you Victor Oladipo for Luka, straight up. You can have your six-man start.
Gonna have to add a first-round pick in there.
I will. I'm wondering if I'm willing to offer a Poole for Brunson.
Ooh.
But I don't know if I can play Brunson and Smart together. So I think I'll keep Hero and Poole because they're kind of similar players. So if one has foul trouble or one tired, you just switch the one out for each other. So I'm feeling okay with that.
That's fair.
Yeah. Also, I was thinking between Victor Oladipo and Derek White. I don't know which one I'd rather have on my team.
Can I go
because
neither?
Derek White would... Well, I want another ball handler that can get the offense
Peyton
going.
Pritchard.
And Derek White. Peyton Pritchard, yeah, he's good.
Toscano Anderson. Hustle.
Yeah, true. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Nick Stauskas was the pick there. But, I mean, actually, the thing with Derek White is just on a game-to-game basis, I don't know which version of him I'm going to get. He was really good last game, but then there are games where he won't even like come close to shooting a three, and then he'll drive in the paint, and then he gets sort of lost and doesn't know what to do, and he can look a little overwhelmed out there at times. So he's a little too volatile for me to have out there. And then who's the other guy you were looking at? Oh yeah, Oladipo. Other than last game when he became like prime Oladipo again, he's not been a good offensive player, even if he can get those steals. Side note, how does he chew gum the whole game? Like I remember
know.
Is it the same piece?
Same piece, yeah. I remember
question.
like I'd play in basketball practice, the talent that I was. If I chewed gum like one time, and if you like run, it can like stuck in the back of your throat. And he's an elite player.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, how would you guys make your starting five, and who would be the first ones off the bench?
Yeah, so for me, obviously, Smart, Brown. I'm gonna go the bigger lineup to start, and then we might bring some guys in depending on the matchup. So we're doing Smart, Brown, Tatum, Draymond, and then we might start Looney if we're going against a Bam Adebayo or Duncan's bigger front court of Rob and Al. But we might bring in Grant as another forward, or if we want to go smaller, we can bring in Hero or Poole. So there's my starting five.
How about you, Dan?
I'm gonna go with. I'll go with Luka, Lowry, Wiggins, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Bam with Brunson off the bench.
Nice. Yeah, I'd go Steph, Clay, Jimmy, and then depending on the size matchup, I'd probably go Rob and Al. Although if it's a smaller team, I think I would put PJ Tucker in, and then rotate Robin at center later on, with someone else with PJ at the 4 maybe.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a lot of options. Interesting the bench constructions for each of us. Like Dan, you've got a more traditional guard, forward, big between like Brunson, Udala, Bertans. I have, well, it kind of depends on the matchup, but I have like either two guards like Hero, Poole, and then like a forward in Grant, or it's like forward, guard, center, and like Poole, Grant, and Looney. And then Duncan, you've got again more of like a traditional guard, forward, big, or guard forward in Dinwiddie, Oladipo, Tucker, or Dinwiddie, like Oladipo, Al. Depends on the matchup.
Yeah, I love the players that aren't like kind of the positionless players. Like like Clay, he could play probably 2 or 3. Maybe he's not that positionless. But Rob, 4 and 5. Al's probably only a 5. PJ Tucker, you can put him at the 2 even for a little bit. You can kind of move around there. But I feel like in a playoff scenario, when you're trying to take advantage of switches and everything like that, having those players that can play all over the court is very helpful.
Yeah, that's what I like about my lineup. Got a lot of versatility. Like Jaylen Brown, he can play, the 2 or the 3. Tatum can play pretty much any position. Marcus Smart, he can guard anyone. Draymond, he can guard anyone. So, no, I'm just a better version of the Celtics, which I like. Switchable defense. We got some real spark plug guys in Poole and Hero, and then Draymond is just like the ultimate version of Al Horford in a way. And Al Horford went Super Saiyan last game again. He went Ultra Instinct. So yeah, just wrapping this segment up. This fun exercise. It should be up on Instagram, and so you can vote on which team you think is the best. Again, if you're a big Davis Bertans fan, you can vote for Dan's team. If you really like Victor Oladipo's music, you can vote for Duncan's team. Or if you like good basketball, you can vote for mine.
Singer.
Okay. If you like the Celtics, then you can vote for
Hey, I'm just saying, our audience is pretty Celtics heavy, so I wasn't catering to them, but having to work out. Yeah, so just wrapping this up, we are going to read last week's Q&A and poll questions. These are in the description of every episode on Spotify, so listen to us there. Again, I think it's only the mobile app, So listening on your iPhone or Google Pixel or Samsung Galaxy or whatever you listen to on, probably find it there. So the Q&A, should the NBA make a rule to limit the transition take foul? Something we talked about last week with Shams releasing that sort of report that they're going to talk about. It was unanimously yes. So I guess we just made a great convincing argument, Duncan. Everyone just agreed.
I don't see a con to it.
Dan, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I replied in a rather ironic way. I said, "This sucks. The transition take foul is one of my favorite plays. For me, it's only second to the Harden Trey Smart Magikarp splash, but it's ahead of the Chris Paul rip-throughs." Yeah, I mean, it's the only issue is I don't have a lot of faith in these refs to actually call this correctly, just because they've done so many, or there's just been so many poorly officiated games in the past. So hopefully they can find a good way to officiate this and be able to like differentiate between like what exactly is a take foul and like what a transition is exactly.
No, that's a good point, because especially how many times you go to the monitor to see if something's like a clear path, and sometimes it can take a while. So hopefully that means less, or I mean, just not like a giant uptick in reviews, but it would certainly be a lot of learning curve. Like you saw at the beginning of this season with guys like Dame and Trey and Harden getting off to slower starts after the sort of the flopping rules or the jumping into a defender for a jump shot, or stopping in traffic and having a guy run to the back of you. Some of those rules changed. If we'd see a similar sort of rough, no pun intended, transition into the new rule.
Honestly, I think with this rule, what it's going to do is it's just going to make the players not do that. Like before, it was a strategy. No one did it by accident or as like during the game. Now, like maybe they'll do it. We'll see a little bit in the beginning, but they'll be like, okay, well, I can't do that, so I just won't. I don't think they'll have to review it that often. It'll just be less purposeful fouls.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I think it'll result in a better game, more transition, more flow, less stoppages. And then, so our poll was, what will be the outcome of the conference finals? So this was sort of made, I believe, one game in. So this poll was created after game one of Boston Golden, or not Boston Golden State, Boston Miami. Sorry, I was looking at the poll for that one. So we had one vote for Miami Golden State. We had one vote for Boston Dallas, and we had two votes for Boston Golden State. So it seems like 3 or 4 people think Boston is going to make it, and then 3 or 4 people think Golden State is going to make it. So sort of by combining the results, Boston Golden State seems to be the consensus. I think it's funny so I've been a sort of Warriors, like not like a not like a big fan, but I like watching them since they were big in like 2015, which is 7 years now. I'm getting old, but just because if you're a fan of basketball, it's just they play a great style. They capitalize on good looks, and they're incredibly unselfish. Steph Curry is one of the most unselfish superstars we've ever seen. Klay Thompson is a guy who's really entertaining to watch, a great personality, and he doesn't require a lot of dribbles or the ball in his hand a lot. Obviously, Draymond Green would be the guy who you can point a finger to and saying like, "Oh, this guy sucks," or "I hate him." But he is a fantastically smart player and great defender.
Oh yeah.
And that team is a joy to watch. Steve Kerr has been a great leader for that team. His comments yesterday after the shooting in Texas were really insightful. I didn't know that his father had passed away from 2 gunmen too. So that was a very personal issue for Kerr. He's been a great leader and face of the league in a lot of ways, and he'll be the next coach of Team USA basketball. So I think it's great for him to be a representation of everything that embodies American basketball. But yeah, I mean, just ever since watching them and the way Boston has historically played them in the last like 7 years, they've always had a great team and a great fight, even going out west into Oracle or the Chase Center. I believe it was 2016 when Golden State was, had that historic season. Boston came in there and put up a real fight with Isaiah Thomas, Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, Jonas
Yeah.
Jerebko. They made them work. So that was a really fun stuff. And so seeing where these teams are nowadays, if they could meet up, that'd be crazy for me to watch, really. And over the course of a series, just a lot of smart players who really know how to play the game really well. I think that'd probably be the most entertaining series. So yeah, I'd be excited for that. You guys have any takes on that stuff?
Honestly, I think like it will be cool if the Warriors make it again. Also, like everybody kind of had to watch the Warriors because it was either Warriors or LeBron for so many years. So if you kind of picked one or the other, even people who aren't Warriors fans might find themselves cheering for them. It's hard not to cheer for the Warriors when you watch them because they are just such a smart team. Steve Kerr, I really like how he involves all of his players too. It's not like it's never a 7-man rotation for him. They really go deep into their bench and develop all the players. And someone who's been like, I'm watching college basketball in UConn. Like that's what I'd hope for the UConn players I see in the league. It was very frustrating with James Bouknight never getting played. And if he almost got the Warriors had a pick around there, didn't they? I think there was a chance he almost went to the Warriors,
Yeah,
and
because they had
he would have been developed so well on that
they
team.
had the
So
two firsts,
yeah.
and they picked so they had the pick from the Timberwolves in the D'Angelo Russell Andrew Wiggins trade. So that
Gotcha.
was the Kuminga pick, and then they had their first, which was sort of like mid to late lottery, which they picked up Moses Moody. I think those two fit the
Gotcha.
team a little bit better than Book. Book kind of needs the ball in his
Yeah.
hand, a little more raw.
But it would have been a great fit for
Great
Book.
situation for him going in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, like a Miami Dallas would be on the other hand. Boy, what a slugfest, ugly between like Jimmy and Luca. Like there'd be a lot of trash
Yeah.
talk. It'd be
Yep.
and Mark Jackson would probably love it. Fan of some grind '90s basketball.
Like some 85 to 94 final score
Ugh.
basketball.
But I mean, I think whatever scenario we get, I think will be a great finals and a change of pace over what we've seen the last couple of years. And yeah, I'm excited for that. June 2nd is when the finals start next Thursday. A lot of basketball left to be played
Wow.
until then, but at the same time,
Yep.
it's coming close. Best time of the year.
Yeah. Before we close out, I've got one quick little story I saw. The Miami Heat cannot win the finals because they don't have a former Knicks player on their team.
I saw that as well.
Yeah, in the past 75 years, every single team has had a former Knicks player or been the Knicks to win the NBA championship. And the Miami Heat do not.
Okay,
So there you go.
let's go through the teams. Who is the Celtic? It's not Derek White. It's not. Is it some? It's like Nick Stauskas. It has to be some guy on the end of the bench.
I saw it on the TikTok. I can't.
For the
I
Mavericks,
don't know it off the top of my
it's
head.
Tim Hardaway Jr. For the Heat, it is who is it? Oh man, the Heat have so many players. Like it could.
No, the Heat don't have
Oh
one.
right,
the Heat
notoriously,
don't have
I'm
one.
dumb. All right, who is it for the Warriors?
The Warriors.
It's not Iguodala. It must be like some of these guys must be like guys that don't play. Like, is it like Juan
Yeah.
Toscano Anderson? Did he play like a 10-day there or something like that?
Honestly, it might be.
Yeah.
It's not Nick Stauskas. Oh, it's Luke Cornett, right?
Oh, the Green Hornet, the Green Cornet. Okay. What a weird stat.
Right? Yeah, he was with the Knicks in 2017 and 2018.
Okay. Interesting. I don't know the Warriors one. If you want to figure that out, it's one of those weird
Yeah,
stats.
I
It's
don't
like like I think maybe it was last year was the first time there's a team that like was in the finals that had a player that didn't play with Shaq in the last like 40 years, just because how many
Yeah.
players
Crazy.
Shaq ended up playing with. Very weird stat.
Yeah.
Very
What are your predictions for Game 5 tonight?
Game 5 tonight.
Boston,
So hopefully
Miami.
this goes up before Game 5. But either way, you will know. Currently it's 2:31 on Wednesday. So take my word for it that it is before the game. So we're in Miami. I mean the game. I'm not part of the Celtics team. I'm not a we. But I think Boston will win. Obviously, the big thing is when you're going down 2-1, you have to find a way to win 2 games in a row at some point. I think Boston is just I just feel good about their chances. I think Miami's just been kind of weird with their personnel and their body language. Obviously, the way they've bounced back after a loss, similar to the way Boston's bounced back by punching them in the mouth. Because for some reason, I'm not like the FTX Arena in Miami doesn't like scare me. It's not like the best crowd either. Like Milwaukee was a better crowd, and I was underwhelmed by that crowd. And I don't think the Celtics players are scared to play there. Now, hopefully, Jason Tatum's shoulder is feeling a little better because he's looking a little off on some of those threes and deep jumpers. But
Yeah.
I think this will be the closest game of the series so far in final score,
Oh,
and I think Boston will win.
incoming blowout.
Yeah, Celtics are up by 40 or down by 40. Yeah, so that's my pick. Dan, do you think it'll be a close game? And Duncan, do you ever find that?
I'm still looking.
I hope it's a close game, but with the Heat, I feel like when Jimmy's not dropping 30 or 40, their offensive ceiling, it just drops and they become stagnant, so predictable. Which is why I think they should make like a move for someone like Beal. Just someone that can come and get buckets in the half court, ease pressure off Jimmy, and just raise the ceiling of that offense. So yeah, I think for player performances, we're gonna get a really good game from Jaylen Brown
Ooh,
tonight.
Jalen, okay. He
Over
had a
24
bad.
points
Oh
tonight.
wow, little betting tips. He had a bad game for Jalen Brown. I don't know. Maybe Oladipo will clamp him down.
What
Yeah.
about you, Duncan? What do you think?
I think I wasn't able to find the Knicks player, so I'm going to give up on the Warriors. But there is one. It's
Okay.
one of them.
Is it Steve Kerr?
maybe that counts. I don't know, but I think my predictions are always wrong, so I'm not going to make an outright prediction.
Well, that's the
but
point of the thing. You gotta make a prediction.
I think if Jaylen Brown scores over 24 points and we get that version of Jaylen Brown, then they will win tonight.
Scored 40 in Game
I
3
think-
and they lost.
Shit. Well, I think if also having Rob back was a huge difference, but I think if seeing all the games we've seen so far, whatever team wins the first quarter, although whatever team comes out in a big lead early is just they're not going to come back. It's really going to be whoever sets the tone of the game, because in Game 3 Miami set the tone, in Game 4 Boston set the tone. Whoever is able to get that hot start in the beginning is going to come out on top.
Okay.
And might be zero lead changes again. Did we say that while we weren't recording? Did I say
This
it on
was
air?
this was in the pre-show meeting per se.
The pre-show meeting? Yeah, so in the 4 games of Boston Miami, there have been 5 lead changes total, and they've all been in Game 1 and 2. So no lead changes in 3 and 4, and I don't anticipate there being a lot of lead changes tonight.
Well, we'll see how this game and the other series out west will wrap up, because our predictions are looking a little weird, because I predicted Warriors in 6. I believe, Duncan, I believe you said Dallas in 7. So
Yeah, hey, if I'm right with that, that
it'd
would
be an
be
all-timer. And I said Boston in 7. You said Boston in 6, if I'm correct. Okay, so if Boston wins out, it would be
yes.
Boston in 6. If Miami picks one up and Boston wins the others, it would be Boston in 7, which both are conceivable. I don't know if Boston will win out, but it's conceivable. Yep, so I think that's all we got for today. Dan, thank you for coming on, as always.
Thanks for having me.
Always a great third voice. So thank you all for listening, and catch us next time.